I was the wife of New York City's wealthiest man, but on the eve of giving birth, I found myself kidnapped and thrown into a brutal reality TV show. 9 months pregnant, I stumbled through the woods, trying to escape. Over the loudspeaker, a familiar voice rang out. Dominic's friend. Dominic, shouldn't you be with Aria right now? She's about to give birth. What are you doing here? Has Vivian thrown another tantrum? Dominic's reply was light, indulgent. Vivian begged me to watch this insane show with her. Aria thinks I'm still at the office. She even pushed me out when her contractions started. Silly girl. I slammed my fists on the monitor, pleading for help. But when Vivian let out a squeal of fright, Dominic's finger went straight to the punishment button. A jolt of electricity ripped through me. My water broke, blood mixing with the fluid on the ground as I collapsed, trembling. Footsteps drew near, my hunters. Bets were flying. Wagers on who would make it out alive. And then Dominic's cold voice cut through the frenzy. $1 million says the pregnant one doesn't make it. Laughter erupted around him. Who would bet against a woman about to give birth, running from hounds and armed men? But Dominic only pushed his chips forward with a lazy flick. 1 million, to make Vivian smile. Wow, Mr. Dominic is generous, someone quipped. Dropping $1 million on his mistress, while his wife probably got a bargain bin engagement ring. If Aria only knew. Dominic lit his cigar, his tone casual. Mistresses should be spoiled. Aria is so virtuous. She's content with just a shared account. I stared at the screen, numb. How could this be the man who once cried as he knelt with $100 ring, begging me to marry him? We'd been together 8 years. I supported him through poverty, through every struggle, believing our love unbreakable. Now, to honor his bet, the show's enforcers seized me. They tightened the rope at my neck, parading me before the cameras like livestock. My body hung limp, blood pooling beneath me. The host whistled, projecting my stats onto a giant screen. 99.9 centimeters. Look at that belly. A record of good fortune. Through the hood, I caught Dominic's eyes narrowing as he loosened his hold on Vivian. For 1 second, I dared to think he recognized me. But then his lips curled into a cruel smile. I thought Aria was one of a kind. Seems there's another woman out there with her exact shape. Despair washed over me. Summoning the last of my strength, I made our secret hand sign, the one from the amusement park years ago. Back then, he'd promised. If you're ever lost, do this. Even in a crowd, even in a costume, I'll know it's you. Now, when I used it, his eyes turned to ice. Only Aria can use that sign. How dare you pretend to be her? He flicked his wrist. Break her fingers. I screamed as the bones snapped. Release 2 more dogs, he ordered. Teach her a lesson. Foul jaws tore at my body. I curled around my stomach, blood running down my legs. Dominic's friends cheered, full of envy. Aria's the lucky one said. Pampered by him for years. Happiest woman in New York. This poor pregnant girl isn't so lucky. What a bastard husband. I forced a bitter smile. They didn't know the truth. The man kissing his mistress on camera, the man trying to kill me, was my husband. And all I could do was watch, helpless, as the man who had held me that very morning, who once swore he'd pluck the stars from the sky for me, told Vivian he loved her again and again before the crowd. The dogs edged toward my throat. In the haze, I saw Death's hand reaching for me. Just when I thought death was imminent, Vivian's voice pierced the chaos from the stands. I've changed my mind. I want to play a different game. Since she's about to die anyway, darling, why don't we? The baby's gender? She sneered, her voice cutting through my panic like a knife. Dominic's brow creased. For a fleeting moment, hope stirred. I thought he might remember the promises we had made. This child had been so hard-won. He had knelt at the temple 9 times, obtained a blessed Buddhist bracelet, and vowed to protect our family. That bracelet still circled his wrist, but now his hand caressed Vivian's hair with ease. All right, he said smoothly, poison lacing every word. Whatever makes you happy. Through the blood-stained hood, I felt my heart sink further. Principles vanished when it came to her. They hauled me onto a surgical table, ropes biting into my wrists. Vivian laughed as she yanked my mask off, spitting in my face. Too bad. He doesn't even recognize you, or keep his promises, she mocked. Through the small gap, I could see her shoes, and she deliberately pressed her foot against the table. Look closely. He gives me the same gifts as you. Once you're gone, I'll be the only one. Her words sliced into me. Every night, he said, he was on a business trip, he was playing seduction games with me. When your father died during surgery, it was because my dog needed attention. He summoned all the doctors for hospice care. Needles of pain pricked my chest with each word. Then, the real agony arrived, a tidal wave of suffering, flooding me completely. The doctor hesitated, scalpel poised. Mr. Dominic, this is far too dangerous. One wrong move, and... Dominic's eyes flickered for the briefest second. Vivian screamed suddenly, clutching her arm. Darling, she scratched me. What if she's infected? Wah. Dominic's concern immediately shifted to fury. He slapped me across the face. How dare you hurt Vivian? Proceed. No anesthesia. I want to see how strong she really is. His gaze pierced through the hood, chilling me to the core. My eyes fell to the 3 teeth knocked out on the floor, my heart an empty wasteland. Vivian leaned against him, smug and satisfied. I'm sorry, ma'am, the doctor murmured, sympathy in his eyes, placing the anesthesia back on the tray. I'll try to finish as quickly as possible to reduce your suffering. The cold scalpel pressed down, and my soul shattered. Screams tore from my throat uncontrollably. Amid the chaos, I noticed the Buddhist beads on Dominic's wrists snapping one by one. He whipped his head around, alarm flashing in his eyes. That voice that sounds like Arya, he muttered. I trembled, struggling to lift my head and reach for his shirt. But Vivian stepped forward, feigning shock. She even learned to mimic Arya's voice to seduce you. Terrifying, isn't it? Dominic's suspicion twisted into disgust. He snatched a handful of cotton from the bed and shoved it into my mouth. My eyes widened in panic. The fluff choked me, making it almost impossible to breathe, especially with my asthma. Before I could gasp, a harsh slap landed. Dominic's expression remained icy, yet a strange joy crossed his face as his phone rang. Arya's gone? She must be in the delivery room. Quick, get the most luxurious baby products in the city. Reserve the $300,000 postpartum care suite. I'm going to be a father. Dominic trembled with excitement, completely unaware that the woman lying on the table before him was his Arya. The scalpel cut through me layer by layer, and with each pass, my breath grew shallower. The doctor clenched his jaw, pumping adrenaline into my veins repeatedly to keep me alive. I drifted into a haze, my mind slipping away entirely. Then, the sharp, piercing cry of a newborn tore through the fog, dragging me back to awareness. Vivian clicked her tongue, smirking. It's a girl. The baby, full term and wailing loudly at birth, was immediately silenced, smothered before it even had a chance to live. Carelessly tossed onto the cold table like an object, its tiny body motionless. Vivian's tone turned sly and playful. Tell everyone outside it's a boy. I have to win this bet. I coughed up blood, my heart breaking as I looked at my daughter's closed eyes, so fragile, so quiet. Through the blur, I could only see Dominic's face, glowing with delight, over and over again. We had married so young, spent 8 years together, and only this year had conceived. I remembered how he used to press his ear to my belly, listening to every heartbeat with reverence. Honey, finally, our baby. Boy or girl, they will be my sole heir. If it's a boy, I'll teach him horseback riding and archery. If it's a girl, one like you, I'll make her the happiest little princess in New York. All eyes. Sole heir. Happiest. None of it meant anything. Dominic's mind never strayed from planning gifts, never spared a glance for the child he had just allowed to die. He barked instructions into his phone, oblivious. Go to the Buddhist temple in the suburbs. Get a protective amulet for my wife and child. And another set of prayer beads. I want the baby absolutely safe. I stared at his face, bitter irony gnawing at my heart. The prayer beads had done nothing to save the child, and the amulet wouldn't save me. Alarms blared from the hospital monitor. Yet Dominic left, arm around Vivian, without a single backward glance. The doctor lingered beside me, torn. I'm a doctor. I can't let someone die like this. Maybe this will bring some good karma for the child yet to be born. He carefully moved me out of the surgical room and called an ambulance. As they carried me past Dominic, my hand fell limply to my side. The silver band engraved with forget-me-nots flashed in the sunlight. Dominic's eyes tightened. That ring, his handiwork, given when I said yes, was a symbol of our undying love. My chest leapt with hope. Maybe now he'd recognize me. But he only shielded Vivian's eyes as if I were filth. Don't look, he said, his voice flat. Then he ordered the stretcher onto a side road. I watched his profile, hollow with despair. The man who once vowed to find me in a crowd, to follow me anywhere, hadn't recognized me once. The child we had both longed for had been taken by his own negligence. And with that, the last thread of love I had for Dominic snapped. The detour doubled the ambulance's travel time. By the time we arrived at the hospital, his motorcade blocked the entrance. A young nurse screamed, panic-stricken, as my blood pressure plummeted. "Someone's dying. Please, let us through." But Vivian and Dominic stood firm, unmoving. "My wife is giving birth today," Dominic announced coldly. "Vivian's right. We can't let someone else's misfortune contaminate my wife and child's blessings." Vivian says. Everything was what Vivian said. If she said the child must die, he let it die. If she said block bad luck, he blocked it. Was her word now holy scripture? Bitterness surged like acid in my chest. I clawed my way upright, my voice hoarse and cracked. "Dominic, you bastard." His glare was ice. He slammed his foot into the side of the ambulance, so hard it shook. "Shut up. Use Arya's voice on me again, and I'll finish you off right here." I slid off the stretcher, numb, my body beyond feeling. 8 years ago, this same man had carved a path through traffic to rush me to the ER during an asthma attack. Now, the same man blocked the road, cutting off my only chance to survive. Same scene, same person, only a different woman clinging to his arm. The will to fight seeped out of me. If he wanted my life so badly, he could have it. By the time the ambulance finally arrived at the hospital, my blood pressure had bottomed out. My breathing faltered, my body sliding toward shock. Doctors sprinted down the corridor carrying blood bags. After transfusions and frantic work, the monitor's numbers finally steadied. The team exhaled. Then the door burst open. Dominic. He stood over me like a butcher inspecting meat. "I want her placenta. My wife just delivered. She needs the nourishment." Of course it was Vivian's idea. I stared at the swaddled baby in the nurse's arms, my teeth chattering. Dominic yanked open a suitcase stuffed with cash and dumped it on me. "Isn't this what people like you want? $1 million enough?" He opened another suitcase and poured that over me. Then 2 million. The weight of the money felt heavier than steel. I swallowed the blood in my mouth and forced out a whisper. "Fine." Inwardly, I wondered what his face would look like when he realized he'd taken my placenta, and I was already slipping away. The doctor tried to protest, but Dominic had already grabbed the placenta and strode off. "A fair exchange," he said flatly. "Whether she lives or dies is no business of mine." As the door swung shut, I heard him on the phone to Vivian. "Thanks to you, Arya and the baby will both be perfectly safe. Once she's out of danger, I'll come spoil you, darling." A bitter laugh bubbled from my throat. I let my eyes drift closed, blood spreading beneath me. Outside the operating room, Dominic suddenly clutched his chest, a flicker of pain flashing across his face. His assistant appeared, pale and trembling. Dominic's voice softened. "Did you find out which operating room? We'll wait outside." The assistant's hands shook. Dominic's impatience grew. "Room 3, the man stammered. "It's this one." Dominic's head snapped up just as the lights over operating room 3 flickered and went dark. I think I died. When my eyes closed, the pain vanished. My body felt weightless, as though I were floating. For a moment, I thought I might finally rest, but my consciousness clung stubbornly to the world below. I hovered above, looking down at the red-eyed doctors surrounding a blood-soaked woman on the table. Only when I saw the young nurse clutching her limp hand did I understand. The woman on the table was me. In less than a day, I had gone from pristine to utterly ruined, looking as if I'd been dragged through a trash heap. Blood and grime covered me, my skin slick with sweat and sourness. My belly was swollen, mottled with purples and blues, bruises distorting its shape like a shattered balloon. A cotton stuffed my mouth, and the young nurse sobbed as she tried to remove it. The head nurse's sharp kick to her side cut through the sobbing. "Time's up. Inform the family." The door slammed open. Dominic stormed in, eyes wild and bloodshot. "You said Arya was here? That's absurd. This wretched woman, betrayed by her husband, is filthy. Arya would never look at her." He stood over me, his voice venomous. "That's right. Arya has always been pure, pristine. This can't be her," Vivian added, pretending agreement, though her eyes glinted with cruel triumph as they swept over my battered form. Her gloating was justified. She had orchestrated everything. My destruction and the death of the child Dominic had longed for over 8 years. If souls could weep, mine would be drowning. But I couldn't cry. Instead, I waited to see the look on Dominic's face when he finally grasped the truth that he had destroyed us both. Could he maintain his arrogance then? Just imagining it almost broke me. Dominic's assistant trembled beside him. "Sir, the DNA test is conclusive. It really is your wife." He crawled toward me, brushing the damp hair from my face. With his coat sleeve, he carefully wiped away the grime, revealing the pallor of my once fair skin. "If you can't even confirm this properly, maybe you should quit," he muttered under his breath. Dominic's eyes met mine, pale, empty, lifeless. His color drained, and the scorn he had been so ready to pour out caught in his throat. This woman pretended to be Arya, mimicked her voice. This face, that must be fake. He searched my battered body frantically, desperate for some flaw, some evidence of deceit. Why is there nothing? There has to be something, anything. His grip on my cheek tightened, leaving angry red marks. The young nurse, unable to watch any longer, slapped his hand away. "She's barely alive, and you insult her? Are you human?" Dominic's fury flared, but then a metallic clink echoed from the floor. He glanced down, and in that instant, his world cracked. The silver band, stained with blood, slipped from my finger and rolled to a stop at his feet, clinking softly as it landed. He bent down, clutching it, staring as if frozen in disbelief. How is this possible?" he whispered, his voice thin, like a man waking from a nightmare. Vivian, sensing the shift, reached for him, but he shoved her aside without a second thought. Finally accepting reality, Dominic stumbled to my side. "Arya, it's really you? How did this happen? There were so many chances before. Why didn't you say anything?" Regret colored his bloodshot eyes, a sorrow so deep it seemed to bleed from him. I laughed bitterly. "Didn't say anything?" I thought. What about the secret hand signals I made? The countless times I reached for him? Every ounce of strength I'd summoned to prove I was Arya, and what did I get in return? Threats, slaps that knocked out my teeth. Suddenly, his face drained of all color, his teeth chattering, the weight of realization crushing him. He whispered, his voice trembling, "And my child." The young nurse, who had been quietly observing from the corner, spat bitterly. With a father like that, the child was cursed from the beginning. Better to be reborn than live in such a world. She gazed down at the infant swaddled in white, her expression filled with pity. Dominic snatched the baby into his shaking arms, carefully peeling back the cloth. One glance was all it took. He let out a raw, anguished wail, tears streaming freely down his face. He pressed the newly acquired prayer beads into the blanket. "Don't leave me. Daddy got you these blessed beads. The Buddha promised you'd be safe. Please wake up." His desperate cries echoed through the sterile room. I stood silently beside him, an overwhelming wave of emotion washing over me. I should have felt the satisfaction of revenge, but instead, tears threatened to spill from my own eyes. I saw his regret, his anguish, the pounding of his chest and stamping of his feet, remorse in every movement. But what use was it? My child was gone, irretrievably lost. Vivian's jealousy flared. She stepped forward, grasping Dominic's hand. "Dominic, it's just a child. I can give you more. Don't grieve." The man who had once treated her like a prized possession suddenly slammed her into the wall with brutal force. His eyes, still red from crying, now held cold cruelty. He gripped her chin, voice sharp and terrifying. "You think you're worthy? After all these years, you truly believe you can compare to Arya? She is my one and only wife. My children will come from her alone." Vivian's eyes filled instantly with tears. She cried out, desperate. "But she's dead. Arya and the baby are gone. Will you live as a widower, clinging to a corpse? I can be your unnamed wife. Bear your children. Let me stay by your side." Dominic remained unmoved, expressionless, about to command his guards to remove her. Then the young nurse spoke, her voice cutting through the tension. "Who said she's dead?" The single sentence ignited a sharp gleam in Dominic's eyes and left me utterly stunned. The nurse explained the truth. The horrors of the death game, the agonizing unmedicated C-section, and the trauma of losing my child had shattered my mind. To survive, my consciousness had retreated from my body, slipping me into a prolonged coma. In other words, I had become a vegetative patient. What Dominic saw now was only an empty shell. He refused to accept this. Spending without limit, he summoned the world's leading neurologists, visited families of recovered patients, meticulously recording their stories. Millions poured out, 1 million, 2 million, 10 million. The same man who once bet a fortune on my death, now offering a fortune for a miracle. Yet every expert, every method, led to the same devastating conclusion. Nothing could be done but wait. That day, Dominic listened in uncharacteristic silence. Every word, every prognosis absorbed with quiet attention. He knelt and kowtowed 9 times, crawling from the base of the temple mountain to the main hall, lighting an eternal flame in memory of our lost child. But the monk had placed the flame not at the front, but amid a row of prayer slips. Dominic grasped the monk's robe, voice trembling. "Why place it there?" The monk pressed his palms together, serene, unreadable, offering no answer. "Mrs. Arya never prayed for herself," the monk said softly. "Every wish she held is contained in these slips. The young one has already ascended to paradise. How could that not fulfill a wish?" Dominic stood frozen, fists clenched so tightly his untrimmed nails cut into his palms, drawing thin streaks of blood. May I see Arya's prayer slips?" he asked, voice barely audible. "Of course. They were meant for you," the monk replied. By the flickering candlelight, Dominic knelt before the Buddha statue and carefully opened the stack of prayer slips. The first, written shortly after our wedding, radiated youthful hope. "Dominic and I are married now. Though he gave me a simple band, he promised that one day it would become the most dazzling diamond in the world. I pray for his success and hope we can have a sweet, healthy baby soon." Dominic's hands trembled as he read it. He had made that promise, but forgotten it. Instead, he had lavished Vivian with a pink diamond the size of a pigeon's egg, the brightest in every store. He shuddered and turned the next slip. The second slip, penned on our 3rd anniversary, was tinged with bitterness. "Dominic left again on our anniversary." I smiled and sent him off, but my heart ached. He gave me the same gift as last year and missed my father's funeral. At least his career is thriving. I pray again for a healthy baby. Dominic recalled that very day vividly. Vivian's dog, her companion for 15 years, had fallen ill. To comfort her, he'd summoned every doctor in the city to give the animal hospice care. Meanwhile, my father had been left alone on the operating table. A heavy weight pressed on his chest. He could barely breathe. Slip after slip followed, until one caught his attention. "I pray for my child to be born safely and grow strong." Short and simple. No mention of Dominic's name. Perhaps I had stopped hoping for him, or perhaps I had ceased expecting anything at all. That night, Dominic knelt before the Buddha statue, responding to each prayer with careful, painstaking lines of writing. Vivian noticed his increasing absence from the world, rarely at home, often locked away in the office. She thought her moment had come. Dressing in a nurse's uniform, one Dominic had once adored, she hid in his private office at the company. When he entered, she braced herself for the future she imagined, nights of passion, the promise of becoming his official partner. But Dominic's gaze was icy. Without warning, he struck her across the face. "My wife lies gravely injured in the hospital," he said coldly. "And you dare parade around in that uniform? Are you cursing her?" "Touch my wife, and it's as if you touch me," he added, voice low but hammering with authority. Visions of punishment flashed before Vivian's eyes. Dominic had never been gentle. Years of indulgence had dulled only memory. She dropped to her knees, trembling, begging for mercy. Dominic's lips curved into a cruel smile. "You want me to spare you? Fine. Strip and crawl out of here." By day's end, the company had witnessed the billionaire dismiss his pampered mistress. Some pitied her. Others laughed. Many recorded it all and posted it online. Overnight, Vivian became the target of a public onslaught. Her private images circulated widely. Filled with envy and rage, she hated me with a white-hot intensity. So the following day, as Dominic returned to the office, Vivian quietly slipped into the hospital, plotting her next move. Despite the presence of dozens of bodyguards and a team of professional caretakers, she managed to barge in, loudly proclaiming herself as the future Mrs. Dominic. I remained on the bed, unmoving, like a modern-day sleeping beauty trapped in silence. Vivian's designer heels dug into the mattress as she hovered over me, her voice dripping with venom. Look at you, a lifeless shell, yet still ruining everything for me. Her expression twisted into rage. Did you enjoy seeing Dominic cast me aside? Did it make you feel triumphant? She sneered. Men are all the same. Eternal love? Please. Within a year of your death, I'll be his wife again, richer than ever. Her smile turned cold. If only you were gone already. A cruel glint flashed in her eyes as she reached for my neck, but stopped, apparently worried about leaving visible marks. Instead, her hands went to my oxygen mask. I've heard vegetative patients can't survive without oxygen. Shall we find out? She yanked the mask away. My body convulsed uncontrollably, breath shallow and erratic. Vivian watched, trembling with excitement, eyes gleaming as if witnessing a spectacle. 1 minute passed. Then 2. My body grew still, exhaling more than it inhaled. Her lips curved into a triumphant smirk. But suddenly, my chest lurched violently, twice. I forced my eyes open, locking my gaze on hers. Vivian shrieked, stumbling backward. Arya, did you just call me? You're awake. The door burst open. Dominic stormed in, kicking with such force that Vivian was thrown several meters back, slamming into the wall. Blood streaked from a gash on her forehead as she whimpered. Dominic, it hurts. He didn't spare her glance. His eyes were fixed on me as he crossed the room in long, urgent strides. When he reached my bedside, I rasped, voice hoarse but cold. Stay away from me. You disgust me. His face fell, pained by the ice in my tone. His eyes shimmered but no tears fell. Once, that look would have melted me instantly. But not now. Not ever again. With a dull thud, Dominic dropped to his knees, crawling closer. He grabbed my trembling hand despite my weak attempts to pull away. Arya, I was wrong. Forgive me. Vivian is out of my life. I've cut every tie. From now on, it's only you. His voice cracked. I know you're angry. You blame me for our daughter. I'll make it up to you. I swear. I've changed. But the moment the word daughter left his lips, hatred surged through me like wildfire. What he owed me, what he owed our child, was beyond repair. I tore my hand from his grip and slapped him with all the strength I had. Don't you dare say her name. You're not worthy. You tell me to die, and I obey. You tell me to come back, and I should crawl to your bed like a dog. Am I that cheap, Dominic? My voice cracked under the weight of rage and grief. But my words and slap seemed to slide off him like water. I slumped back against the pillows, gasping, silent tears streaming down my cheeks. Baby, I'm sorry. Mommy couldn't protect you. I can't even avenge you. Suddenly, sharp smacks echoed in the room. Dominic, still kneeling, was striking himself hard. His cheeks turned red and swollen within moments. Seeing me awake, he forced a pitiful smile through his own pain. I'll punish myself for you. 100 times, no, 1,000, until you forgive me. I never imagined I'd see such desperation on Dominic's face. But now, my heart was encased in steel. I watched in silence as he struck himself again and again until his face was swollen, but my expression never softened. When he finally stopped, I let out a low, bitter laugh. It's nowhere near enough. My hatred for you doesn't fade. It grows stronger with every passing day. Dominic, just looking at you makes me sick. There will never be forgiveness between us. He shook his head wildly, desperation in his eyes. No, Arya, no. Do you have any idea how long I've been waiting for you to wake up? 1 year and 8 months. For you, I've gone to the temple every single day. I burned incense, prayed, wrote endless prayer slips. Whatever you want, I'll give it. I can't lose you. Please, Arya, give me one last chance. His trembling hands pulled a thick stack of folded prayer papers from his pocket. Through the gaps between his fingers, I read the messages. I hope Arya wakes up. I hope Arya and I can start over. I pray we can have another child. But not a single one said, I hope Arya loves me. Because he had always been certain of my love. Too certain. I looked at them with icy disdain. All I could see were 4 words written between the lines. Wishful thinking. With a flick of my hand, I scattered the papers like dust. Dominic, didn't the Buddha tell you he doesn't grant impossible wishes? With every word I spoke, the color drained from his face. Then, from his pocket, he pulled out a knife. I instinctively shifted back, but my my fingers brushing the handle warily. But instead of threatening me, Dominic pressed it into my palm, eyes bloodshot and unblinking. "If this will ease your hatred, take it," he said hoarsely. "Even if you kill me, I won't resist." There was no fear in his expression, only a strange certainty that I wouldn't harm him. I didn't reveal what I was thinking. My voice stayed cold.
"Why?
"Don't you love Vivian so much?" He hesitated for only a heartbeat before answering, voice steady but bitter. "If I'm gone, she can become your rightful wife. Isn't that what you want?" His words were a test, a cruel little game. Yet in front of Vivian he swore. "Arya, believe me, that woman was nothing but a passing distraction. I'll have her gone from our lives immediately." The glint of ruthlessness in his eyes chilled me. If he had clung to his love for Vivian, I might have respected him more. But instead, he flicked his gaze at her where she crouched in the corner and barked an order to his guards. "Send her to the psychiatric hospital on the outskirts. Don't let her out again." That institution was notorious. Restraints, electric shocks, brutal treatments. Even Vivian seemed stunned, lifting her head in disbelief. "You're sending me there? Dominic, what about everything you swore to me over the last 5 years?" His face didn't change. His loyalty to me, at least in that moment, was absolute. "Arya, even if you won't forgive me now, I'll wait. Tomorrow, I'll sign over every asset to you. No more worries." But before he could finish, a sharp blade sank into his neck. Vivian, eyes blazing and laughter unhinged, clutched the knife I'd tossed aside. "All of this is mine. The title of billionaire's wife belongs to me," she screamed. "Arya doesn't deserve it. I'm the one who truly loves you. Why won't you believe me?" Her words were twisted lies as she stabbed again and again until Dominic slumped, barely breathing. Only then did the bodyguards react, prying her off him and dragging her away. Blood gushed from Dominic's throat, the artery severed, beyond saving. With the last of his strength, he reached for my hand, a faint, peaceful smile ghosting his lips. "Now, I've truly atoned for you and for our daughter. I'm sorry, Arya." His fingers went limp in mine. In the distance, Vivian, cuffed and restrained, was still laughing hysterically. I ignored them both and quietly signed my discharge papers. A few days later, a news alert lit up my phone. Vivian had taken her own life in prison. She had loved him, in her way, enough to follow him even into death. But that no longer concerned me. From that moment on, the long night gave way to dawn. The past was finally over.